I paid for my parents to go on a luxury trip, but they chose to take my sister instead. After they left, I canceled all the reservations. I treated my parents to a lavish one-week trip to Europe with me. When I picked them up to take them to the airport, they informed me that they had elected to travel with my jobless sister instead of me. My mother grinned. "Your sister needed some rest, so we decided to take her." I did not say anything. When they arrived in Europe, they were treated to a great surprise. "You're late," my mother exclaimed, stepping out onto the porch and lugging her bag behind her. I glanced at the clock on my dashboard. It was 6:02 a.m., 2 minutes late. "Mom," I replied, attempting a grin. I got out of the car to help with the baggage, but then I noticed my sister Lauren emerge from the house, carrying her own suitcase. My smile froze. "What's going on?" I inquired, attempting to keep my voice calm. My mother turned to me, her face way too happy for the circumstances. "Oh, Violet, we decided Lauren should come instead of you. She's been so stressed lately, and she really needs this trip." My chest tightened. "Instead of me? Mom, I've been planning this for years. I paid for everything." She waved her hand dismissively, as if I had simply brought up something unimportant. "And we're grateful, sweetheart, but you're always working so hard. You can take another trip later. Lauren needs this right now." Lauren did not even have the decency to appear guilty. She only smirked and shifted her weight to one hip. "Thanks for understanding, sis," she murmured, her voice dripping with phony sincerity. I looked at the two of them, my heart racing in my chest. My father walked out a bit later, avoiding eye contact and handing me his suitcase. "This is unbelievable," I exclaimed, my voice shaking. "This was supposed to be our trip, something for me to share with you." "Well, it still is," my mother replied with a smile. "Just with Lauren instead. Don't make this a big deal, Violet. Your sister really needs a break." My name is Violet, and I've been working extra hours for the past 2 years to provide my parents with an unforgettable vacation. Flights, luxury hotels, guided tours, I meticulously organized every detail, down to the last dinner reservation. But as I stood in my parents' driveway, watching my sister enter the rear seat of my car, I realized something I had been ignoring for years. It didn't matter how hard I tried. Lauren was always number one in their eyes. I clenched my jaw, biting back the angry retort that was on the tip of my tongue. Instead, I contrived a stiff smile before opening the trunk. "Let's get going then," I murmured, my voice flat. If they want to prioritize her over me, that's okay. They may accompany her, but I wasn't about to let them enjoy it. Except for Lauren's constant conversation, the drive to the airport was eerily quiet. "Oh my gosh, Mom, did you see that TikTok about Paris? I can't wait to go shopping there. Do you think we'll have time for that, or will the tours take up the whole day?" My hands tightened over the steering wheel as I stared straight ahead, forcing myself not to say anything. My mother giggled quietly. "Of course we'll have time. We'll figure it out when we get there." I bit the inside of my cheeks. "When we get there." They didn't appear to notice I wasn't a member of that "we" anymore. At one point, my father cleared his throat. "Thank you for driving us, Violet. I know this probably feels unusual." I looked at him in the rearview mirror. "Unusual? That's an interesting way to put it, Dad." He did not respond. He simply shifted uncomfortably in his seat, maybe wishing he hadn't spoken at all. Lauren leaned forward from the back seat, her words harsh. "You're not mad, right? I mean, this is really big of you, letting me go. I could never have afforded this on my own." I clenched my mouth and forced a tight smile. "Of course, Lauren. Enjoy the trip." By the time we arrived at the airport drop-off zone, my patience had worn thin. My mom hugged me as I helped them unload their luggage. "Thank you for understanding, dear. This means a lot to us and Lauren," my mother explained. I nodded stiffly. "Sure, Mom." Lauren smiled as she wheeled her bag to the entrance. "Thanks, Violet. You're the best." I stood there, watching them disappear into the terminal, my chest tight with anger and hurt. The ride back home was a blur, and I replayed the conversation in my head over and over, each word cutting deeper than the last. "This means a lot to Lauren. You're not mad, right? You're always working so hard." I parked in my driveway and sat in the car for a few minutes, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. Then, without a second thought, I marched into the house, pulled out my laptop, and logged into every travel account I'd used to book the trip. Hotel reservations were canceled. Tours were refunded. Airline upgrades were denied. When I closed my laptop, a sense of satisfaction settled over me. They could explain themselves to the front desk staff in Paris, and I was done being their doormat. The tightness in my chest began to ease as I stared at the confirmation emails piling up in my inbox. If they wanted to take Lauren instead of me, that was fine, but they would not be staying in 5-star hotels or taking private tours on my dime. The calls began as soon as their flight landed, and as I unpacked my suitcase, the one I'd packed so meticulously for a trip that was no longer mine, the irony was not lost on me. I hung up my clothes and neatly placed my shoes back on the rack. I groaned, picking up the phone and glanced at the screen, where my mother's name flashed along with multiple missed calls and texts. I unlocked the phone and read through the messages. "Violet, what's going on? The hotel won't let us check in. The reservation is missing. Call me right away." "Violet, this isn't humorous. Fix it now." I couldn't stop myself from laughing. Did they really expect me to sweep in and save the day after what they had done? The phone rang again, this time with a call from Lauren, and I let it ring until she left a voicemail. "Violet, this is so petty," she said, her voice dripping with entitlement. "We're stuck here because of you. You must contact the hotel immediately and resolve the issue." I rolled my eyes and deleted the voicemail without listening to the rest. I'd been their fixer for years, smoothing over every mistake and picking up the slack, but not anymore. I eventually decided to respond, if only to stop the torrent of calls. My mother's voice hit me like a tidal wave of hatred as soon as I picked up. "Violet, what have you done? The hotel claims the reservation was canceled, and none of the trips are scheduled anymore." I let her yell for a bit before calmly responding, "I canceled them." After a long, startled silence, she yelled, "Why would you do that?" "Oh, I don't know," I responded, my tone tinged with sarcasm. "Maybe because you chose to accompany Lauren on my trip. You're lucky that I drove you to the airport. We thought you'd understand," she snapped. "Understand what?" I inquired, my voice rising. "Those years of saving and preparing were irrelevant because Lauren required a break. Did you think my efforts were in vain? Guess what, Mom? I don't understand, and I don't want to." I hung up before she could react and switched off my phone, tossing it on the couch. The calm that followed was beautiful, and I felt like I could breathe again. If they wanted to prioritize Lauren, fine, but they could work out the rest of the journey without me. The calm lasted barely a day, and the next morning, my phone was humming again with calls and messages, which I initially ignored. I spent the day cleaning the home and catching up on work, but curiosity got the best of me, and by the evening, I had opened my phone and braced myself for the storm of texts. From my mother. "Violet, you've gone too far. Your sister is in tears, your father is upset, and we can't get into any of the hotels you booked. Lauren, you're acting like a child, and I don't see why you're making this such a huge issue. Just repair it already." Finally, from my father. "We need to discuss. This isn't right." I set the phone down, shaking my head. For years I'd been the one to fix things, to make sure everyone was comfortable and happy, and now that I'd taken a step back, they didn't know what to do. I poured myself a cup of tea and sat down at the kitchen table, letting the anger simmer. How dare they expect me to clean up their mess? How dare they act as if I was the one in the wrong? The next call arrived minutes later, and this time I answered. "Violet," my mother said before I could respond. "This isn't amusing anymore. We are stranded. Do you know how embarrassing this is?" I took a leisurely sip of tea. "Embarrassing? Do you think this is embarrassing? Try saving for years, organizing every detail, and then being told you aren't even going on the trip you paid for. Stop being dramatic," she said. "Lauren needed this more than you. And now she can figure it out," I stated firmly. "You have made your decision, Mom. You wanted to take Lauren instead of me, that's great. But don't expect me to pay for her vacation. We're family," she said. "We don't do this to each other?" I let out a bitter laugh. "Funny. I was just thinking the same thing." Lauren's voice rang out in the background crying, "Mom, just hang up on her. She is being impossible." That was the last straw. "Enjoy your trip," I said, my tone frigid. "Oh, you can't, because it isn't your trip. That was mine. And now it belongs to nobody. Goodbye." I hung up before she could respond and turned off my phone. For the rest of the evening, I felt an odd mix of anger and relief. Angry that they'd put me in this situation, but relief that I'd finally stood up for myself. They could call me dramatic all they wanted, but for the first time in my life, I wasn't going to let them take advantage of me. The following few days were blissfully quiet. With my phone turned off, I finally had space to think clearly, free of the barrage of guilt trips and accusations. I spent my mornings sipping coffee on my back porch, enjoying the calm I'd craved for so long. My afternoons were filled with work and catching up on little projects I'd been putting off. Things that reminded me how capable I was when I wasn't bogged down by their endless demands. But on the third day, curiosity got the better of me, and I turned on my phone to find over a dozen voicemails waiting for me, the first few of which were from my mother, who became increasingly upset with each one. "Violet, you should call me back right now. This has gone too far. I cannot believe you are doing this. You have embarrassed us. We are your parents. How could you treat us like this?" Then followed Lauren's messages, full of the same entitled tone she'd always used. "This is so petty, even for you. You are wrecking everything. Just fix it, Violet." Finally, my father's voice, lower but no less pointed. "Violet, I don't understand what's happened to you. Call us back so we can work this out." I paused before listening to my mother's final voicemail, which was lengthy and filled with frustration and exhaustion. "Violet," she said. "We are back at the airport now. The trip is destroyed, and I hope you are satisfied with yourself. Your sister is upset, and your father and I are beyond disappointed. Call us when you're ready to speak." I deleted the voicemails without responding because I wasn't prepared to talk, and I honestly didn't know if I ever would be. This wasn't a one-time error, it was the sum of years of them putting Lauren first and expecting me to accept it with a smile. As the hours passed, I reflected on all the times I'd been overlooked or dismissed, every holiday where Lauren's whims dictated the plans, every family gathering where my accomplishments were treated as afterthoughts. This trip had been the tipping point, but the cracks had been forming for years. Grace arrived abruptly that evening, carrying 2 cups of coffee and an evident air of inquiry. "I heard about what happened," she continued, placing the coffee on the table. "Your mom called me yesterday." Of course, she had. My mother was always adept at enlisting sympathizers to coerce me into obedience. "And?" I inquired, taking a sip. Grace shrugged, a sneaky smile forming on her face. "I told her you were probably busy and would get back to her when you were ready." I laughed and shook my head. "You're the best." "No, you're the best," she continued, her tone becoming more serious. "Because you finally stood up for yourself. I understand how difficult that is, Violet. Do not let them drag you back down." Her words stayed with me long after she departed. Grace was correct. I'd spent far too long bending over backwards to please people who didn't seem to care about my efforts. It was time to halt that cycle once and for all. By the weekend, I had a strange sense of clarity. The anger was still simmering beneath the surface, but it was joined by something I hadn't felt in years. Freedom. Freedom from their endless expectations. Freedom from being the family's fixer. Freedom to finally live on my own terms. But, as expected, the silence did not last long. It was Sunday afternoon when I received a phone call from my father, which I decided to answer. "Violet," he said, his voice heavy with exhaustion. "Your mother wanted me to call. She believes you will listen to me." "Go on," I murmured, reclining back in my chair. He sighed. "Look, things have gotten out of hand. Your mother is outraged, Lauren is enraged, and everything is simply a mess. But you are better than this." I stiffened, his words eliciting a new wave of rage. "Better than what, Dad? Stand up for myself? I refuse to let you walk all over me again." "That's not what I meant," he answered hurriedly. "It's just that you've always been the sensible one, the one who keeps everything together. This is not like you." I let out a short, bitter laugh. "You're correct. I'm not leaning over backwards to clean up your mess, which is unusual for me." He hesitated, and I thought he might finally understand my point of view, but then he replied, "You're punishing the entire family for one decision. Is that actually fair?" "Fair," I repeated, my voice rising. "You want to talk about fairness? Was it fair that you and Mom thought I wasn't significant enough to join the trip I had planned? Was it right that you replaced me with Lauren, as if I didn't matter?" "That's not what we were trying to do," he added defensively. "We just thought Lauren needed it more." "Of course you did," I yelled. "You always believe she requires more attention, more support, more of everything. And I am always asked to make sacrifices for her. Not anymore." The silence on the other end of the line was deafening, and he eventually muttered, "I don't know what you want me to say." "I don't need you to say anything," I said, my voice firm. "I just need you to understand that I'm tired of being an afterthought. From now on, I'll come first. Goodbye, Dad." I ended the call and set the phone down, my hands trembling. For the rest of the day, I allowed myself to feel everything: anger, sadness, relief. It wasn't easy, but it felt like the beginning of something new. I wasn't the family's fixer anymore, and I wasn't going to be. They could figure out how to clean up their own messes. When my parents and Lauren returned, I was waiting for them in their driveway, sipping coffee and feeling remarkably calm as I watched their cab arrive. Lauren was the first to comment as they came out, dragging their baggage behind them, their expressions filled with tiredness and displeasure. "Well, I hope you're happy, Violet." I arched an eyebrow and remained sitting on the porch swing. "Happy about what?" "Our trip was a disaster," my mother exclaimed, waving her hand as if to dismiss the whole thing. "We spent the entire week sleeping in dirty hotels and eating bad cuisine since we couldn't afford anything decent. And don't get me started on the tours," Lauren interjected, crossing her arms. "Oh, there weren't any? Do you know how embarrassing it was to arrive and be informed there was no reservation?" I took another sip of coffee, allowing their complaints to wash over me. "Sounds rough," I finally responded calmly. "But you wanted to take Lauren, remember? I'm sure you guys had a terrific bonding experience." "That's not the point," my mother replied, her voice rising. "You knew we couldn't afford everything you'd planned. You set us up for failure." I stood up and placed my mug on the tiny table beside me. "No, Mom, I didn't set you up for anything. I planned a trip for the three of us, something unique that I had been saving for years. You were the ones who decided to cut me out at the last moment." My father eventually spoke up, his tone calmer but no less accusatory. "You didn't have to cancel everything, Violet. That was extreme." "Was that it?" I asked, folding my arms. "Why should I have paid for a trip to which I had not even been invited? If Lauren needed it so much, you should have organized it yourself. You're lucky I didn't cancel your return flight." Lauren rolled her eyes. "You are so dramatic. It's only money, Violet." "And you're so entitled," I shot back, my patience now fraying. "Do you know how much effort and sacrifice went into preparing that trip? Or do you simply believe that things will emerge for you because someone else takes care of them?" They stood there, surprised and silent for a time. "I've spent years being the responsible one," I said, my voice steady but forceful. "The one who fixes things, prepares things, and ensures everything works well. And you've spent just as long taking everything for granted." "That's not fair," my mother began, but I intervened by raising a hand. "No, Mom. What is unfair is the way you treated me. You chose Lauren above me, like you usually do. So I decided to stop being your doormat. You did not want me on the trip? Fine. But you don't get to reap the advantages of my hard work without me." I grabbed my bag from the porch swing and turned to leave. "I'm glad you're safe, but don't expect things to return to normal. I'm finished." As I walked to my car, I heard them calling after me, their voices a mix of anger and guilt, but I didn't look back. The drive home from my parents' house felt strangely peaceful. For years, every visit had left me emotionally drained, but this time I felt lighter. I'd finally said everything I'd been holding in, and for once, I wasn't concerned about their reaction. When I got home, I made a cup of tea and sat on the couch, replaying the confrontation in my head. They'd been so sure I'd fold, that I'd give in like always, but watching their stunned faces as I walked away was a reminder of how much I'd changed. It didn't matter if they were angry, hurt, or embarrassed, I was done living my life to meet their expectations. The next day, Grace called me. "How did it go?" she inquired, not bothering with pleasantries. I laughed, leaning back against the kitchen counter. "Just as you'd expect. They're outraged, Lauren is pouting, and Mom is probably attempting to guilt me back into line." Grace snorted. "Let her try. You have a backbone now, and I'm here to keep it in place." I smiled, appreciative for her unfailing support. "Thank you, Grace, I mean it. You've been my rock throughout this." "Anytime," she responded, her voice softening. "So, what's next for you now that you're no longer the family fixer?" That question had been swirling in my head since the confrontation. What was next? For years, so much of my energy had been spent attempting to satisfy my family and earn their approval, but now that I'd let go of that burden, the choices felt endless, and a little terrifying. "I don't know yet," I said. "But I feel like I get to make the decision. Not them, nor anyone else. Just me." "Sounds like the start of something amazing," Grace commented, her voice bright with a smile. Over the next few weeks, I started making small changes that felt big in their own way. I redecorated my living room, swapping out my parents' hand-me-down furniture for pieces that felt uniquely mine. I spent weekends exploring local cafes and parks, things I'd always wanted to do but never made time for. And I started journaling, writing down my thoughts and dreams without filtering them through the lens of what others might think. Each small step felt like I hadn't realized how much of myself I'd lost until I sat down one evening and opened the spreadsheet I'd used to plan the trip. The canceled reservations stared back at me, and I didn't feel a pang of regret, but rather a surge of determination. That money had been meant for a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and I wasn't going to let it go to waste. I closed the spreadsheet and opened a new browser tab and typed solo travel ideas. A few weeks after my parents' return, I booked a solo trip to Italy. It wasn't the same itinerary I'd planned for them, and it wasn't about proving a point anymore. This was for me, a chance to celebrate my independence and finally prioritize me. I had never traveled alone before, but as soon as I stepped out of the airport and into the bustling city, I knew I'd made the right decision. I spent my days wandering cobblestone streets, marveling at ancient ruins, and indulging in meals at charming little cafes. There was no schedule, no one else to consider. Just me and the freedom to do whatever I wanted. One afternoon, while sitting on the Spanish steps with a gelato in hand, I pulled out the journal I'd brought with me. For years, I'd written about what I wanted to achieve, but those dreams were always wrapped up in making someone else happy. Now, as I wrote, the focus shifted. Learn a new language. Start a small business. Travel to at least 5 more countries. The list grew, each goal a reflection of the life I wanted to create, not the one I'd been expected to live. On my last night in Florence, I had dinner at a small family-run restaurant overlooking the Arno River, and as I watched the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink, I felt a deep sense of peace. This trip had been more than just a vacation. It was a turning point. I'd spent so much of my life trying to earn my family's approval, but here, thousands of miles away, I realized something important. I didn't need it. I was enough just as I was. When I returned home, my parents tried to reach out again, this time with softer tones and carefully worded messages. Hope you had a nice trip. One text from my mom read, maybe we can all talk soon. I stared at the message for a moment before setting my phone down. I wasn't ready to respond, which was fine. This time, it would be on my terms, and I felt proud as I unpacked my luggage and displayed treasures on my shelves. A week after returning from my trip, my mother called, and this time I answered. Hi Violet, she said, her tone strangely soft. How was your trip? It was amazing, I said, keeping my tone neutral. That's nice to hear, she replied, hesitating as if to find the proper words. We've been thinking a lot about what occurred. Perhaps we handled things terribly. The admission astonished me, but I wasn't about to let her off the hook just yet. Poorly. You unexpectedly replaced me on a trip that I had planned and paid for. Poorly is an understatement. I know, she said. Your dad and I, we didn't realize how much it would hurt you. And Lauren, I asked, does she feel awful too, or is she still blaming me for ruining her vacation? She's upset, says my mother. But I think she knows she could have handled things better. I sighed, resting against the counter. Mom, this wasn't just about the trip. It's been years of putting her first and expecting me to make up the difference. I am not doing it anymore. I understand, she answered after a time. We will strive to do better. We do not want to lose you. Her comment struck a chord deep within me, but I'd learned not to let guilt influence my decisions. I'm delighted to hear that, I answered. But it will take more than words to heal this. I want to see actual effort, not just apologies. You will, she told me. We'll give you the space you need, but I hope you'll let us back in someday. After the call, I had a combination of emotions. Relief that they were finally admitting their behavior, and skepticism about whether they'd ever change. But when I sat down with my journal that evening, I understood something important. Whether or not they changed was not my duty. Over the following months, I maintained my strict boundaries, responding to their calls and texts when I felt like it, but not going out of my way to solve things or smooth over tensions. Instead, I focused on creating the life I want. I signed up for a photography class, something I'd always wanted to do but never had the time or energy for, joined a local hiking group, and even started planning my next solo trip. Each step felt like regaining another aspect of myself. One day, as I stood on my balcony watching the sunset, I realized how far I'd come. I wasn't the person who went above and beyond for people who didn't respect me. Instead, I was someone who valued herself, established boundaries, and wasn't scared to stand up for what she deserved. I felt completely liberated. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you. Am I the asshole for calling the police immediately when my sister's family broke into my new house with a stolen spare key? Hello, Reddit. I, 27F, feel like I've spent the majority of my life in the shadow of my older sister, Anna, 30F. She's always been the favorite, you know, the one, smart, social, and capable of charming her way out of any situation. Meanwhile, I've been called the irresponsible one, which in my family simply refers to the one who does all of the work but receives no credit. Growing up, Anna always had the best of everything. Her birthdays were large garden festivities complete with bounce castles and pony rides. Mine, a pizza party in the dining room featuring a cake from the grocery store bakery. Anna got the Barbie dream house for Christmas, whereas I got a second-hand counterfeit with a missing elevator. My parents would simply remark, "You don't need all that fancy stuff," or, "Be grateful for what you have." However, Anna's gratitude was never required in the same manner. The big separation occurred when I entered college. I had worked hard in high school, juggling AP classes and extracurricular activities to maintain a high GPA. I was admitted to a local university and believed I had a great plan. I'd commute from home to economize on dorm fees. Anna had attended her dream school, and my parents had funded everything. So I figured they'd benefit me, too. Wrong. When I mentioned my plan to live at home, my mother looked at me as if I had just suggested we relocate to Mars. "If you're staying here, you'll need to contribute," she added casually. Anna got a full ride from us because she deserved it. You need to learn responsibility. I was 18 and preparing to enter college, and they were already talking about me paying rent. Contribute turned out to be $400 per month for rent and electricity, plus my personal groceries. That may not seem like much unless you're a broke college student working part-time at a bookstore for $9 per hour. I attempted to explain, reminding them that they had covered everything for Anna, that she had never had to worry about money at school. Mom simply shrugged. "We gave Anna what she needed," she stated. "You're different. You're independent. You'll figure it out." So I did. I worked as many hours as I could at the bookshop, occasionally skipping meals to make ends meet. Every morning, I would pass the campus coffee shop, envious of the students who could purchase lattes and pastries while I brown-bagged PB&J sandwiches and drank free coffee from the bookstore break room. I never bought a textbook at full price. Everything was used or borrowed from the library. Every month I handed over the $400 to my parents while Anna was away at her out-of-state school, living in a brand new dorm that my parents had purchased for. She contacted me once to complain about her dorm's AC not being chilly enough, and I almost lost it. I didn't have air conditioning in my automobile since I couldn't afford to fix it. My parents continued to send Anna money each month. I once overheard Mom on the phone saying, "We don't want her to struggle. College is difficult enough." I stood in the kitchen, clutching my $1 ramen noodles, wondering why none of that compassion was ever shown to me. To make matters worse, my parents were continually praising Anna for her accomplishments. She earned a 3.2 GPA in her communications department, and they threw her a lavish graduation party complete with a catered buffet and a DJ. When I graduated with a 3.9 and a computer science degree, we had a peaceful meal at home. Mom prepared lasagna and replied, "Well, we don't want to make a fuss." Looking back, I believe what stung the most was not the absence of financial assistance, but the apparent message that I didn't count as much. Anna was always portrayed as the star with potential, while I was just there. Even when I achieved it, it was overlooked. "Kate's smart. She doesn't need help," they'd say. It seemed like being capable was a curse. After college, I moved out as quickly as possible. I rented a little apartment near my first job and began living my life on my terms. It wasn't easy, but it felt great to be free of their expectations. I worked hard, lived frugally, and began saving. Meanwhile, Anna married Josh, 32 million, whom my parents adore, despite the fact that he's constantly changing jobs. They currently have 3 children, Sophia, 5F, Lucas, 4M, and baby Noah, 2M. My folks are continually bailing them out. When their automobile broke down last year, my parents handed them money to get a new one. When Anna complained about how difficult it was to keep up with 3 children, Mom and Dad offered to babysit on weekends. I wish it didn't bother me anymore, but it still does. No matter how much I do on my own, it seems like I'll always be second to Anna. That is why I no longer share many details about my life with my family. I know they wouldn't mind, not really. So, I've been keeping this quiet, but I recently decided it was time to start looking for a home. I had been renting this tiny flat for years, paying far too much for what was essentially a glorified shoebox. And I'd been saving for what seemed like forever. I ultimately came to the point where I thought, you know what, I deserve it. Now, here's the thing, I didn't inform my family. Not because it's a big secret, but because nothing with them can ever be solely about me. everything becomes a group project. If I mentioned anything, I knew they'd start making it about Anna and her children, and how whatever I earned would help them in some way. So I decided it was easier to keep my lips shut until all was said and done. Apparently, that was overly hopeful. I'm not sure how this happened, but a woman I work with, let's call her Lisa, managed to let it slip. Lisa is one of those people who is always interested in what others are doing, and I believe she casually mentioned to someone that I was looking for a house. That person simply happened to be Anna's neighbor. From there, the news spread like wildfire, the delights of small-town Texas. A few days later, my mother contacted me. "Kate," she said, her tone excessively joyful. "Why didn't you tell us you're looking for a house?" I should have known better, but I chose to play dumb. "Oh, I'm just browsing around right now, nothing serious." "Well, Anna and I have been talking, and we have some great ideas for you." I could sense dread creeping in. "You're going to need something big enough for everyone, you know. At least 4 bedrooms, for the kids of course." "What kids?" I questioned. "I don't have kids." She kept going as if this were the most regular thing in the world. "You'll need space for Anna's family when they visit. And for us too. Oh, and it'd be great if it was close to Anna's place." I'm not sure why I was startled. She had already turned my potential house into the solution to their issues. I said something non-committal and hung up the phone as quickly as I could, thinking it was a one-time occurrence. But, oh dear, it wasn't. My mom and Anna began flooding me with house listings after that. I'm not exaggerating when I say it turned into a part-time job for them. Every day, I'd receive at least a dozen links to ludicrous houses, large homes with 4 or 5 bedrooms, pools, 3-car garages, and the works. It was as if they assumed I was looking for a reality TV mansion. One day, Mom texted, "Did you see that one on Maple Street? It's a huge one, just perfect." Another time, Anna emailed me a link to a 6-bedroom property with a remark that read, "This would be so suitable for us. We finally have space to spread out. United States." I stared at the message for a good minute, wondering how my property purchase had become a collaborative endeavor. What is the worst part? They were not even pretending it was about me. Every place they recommended was oriented toward Anna's family. "This one has a finished basement, Josh could turn it into his man cave. The kids would love the pool in this one. Look, Kate. There's even a guest room for Mom and Dad when they visit." It was exhausting. At first, I attempted to gently lead them away, assuring them that I was only shopping for something modest for myself. But that simply made matters worse. That's when I decided to cease responding. I silenced the group chat and disregarded their messages. I assumed they would finally get the point and move on. Meanwhile, I continued searching for houses on my own. I spent my evenings reading through Zillow and my weekends looking at open houses. I didn't tell anyone where I was going, and I avoided anything slightly related to Anna's area. I didn't want to run into anyone who might tell my mother. After weeks of looking, I finally found it, a little 2-bedroom cottage just outside the city. It had everything I desired. A nice little porch, a sunny kitchen, and a lawn large enough for a garden. It wasn't elegant, but it felt familiar. The moment I stepped through the door, I knew it was mine. I submitted an offer, and after a few nerve-wracking days, it was approved. I can't even explain how fantastic it felt. For the first time in my life, I was doing something solely for myself, with no influence from anyone. Of course, I did not inform my family. I decided to let them keep delivering their helpful suggestions while I silently moved forward. But then my mother called me out of nowhere. "We're having dinner next weekend. You're coming, right?" I nearly said no. But then I had a thought. You know what? Let's get this over with. So I'm going to this dinner, and I already know what it will be like. They'll probably have a full PowerPoint presentation prepared. Here comes the fun part. I'm about to reveal that I've already purchased a home. I won't sugarcoat it either. I can already hear theatrical gasps and complaints. "Thank you for sticking around. I'll send you an update after dinner." Update 1. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone who left comments and advice on my previous article. I promised to update you after dinner, so here we go. Buckle up, because there was a lot. So I arrived at my folks' place last Saturday at precisely 6 p.m., mentally prepared for whatever rubbish they were about to throw at me. The moment I went in, there was already commotion. The kids were shouting, Josh was sitting on the couch watching TV, and my mother was busy in the kitchen. She looked over and said, "Oh good, you're on time for once. We are off to a good start, right?" We sat down for supper and the conversation began with the normal small talk. Dad complained about gas prices, Josh about something at work, and Anna about how difficult it was to manage 3 children. Noah keeps waking up in the middle of the night. she explained, scooping mashed potatoes onto her plate. We're just so cramped. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I knew where this was going, but I played along, nodding sympathetically while concentrating on my lasagna. Then my mother cleared her throat in the manner she did before making an announcement. Kate, she replied with a huge smile, we've been talking, and we think we found the perfect house for you. I almost choked on my water. Of course, they'd arrive with a plan. Oh? I asked, keeping my tone as neutral as possible. Yes, Anna chimed in. It's a beautiful place, and it's only a few blocks from us. It has 5 bedrooms, a huge yard for the kids, and even a guest suite. Mom interrupted before I could respond. It's perfect for everyone. There's enough space for the kids to finally have their own rooms, and Josh could even set up an office. Plus, it's in such a great neighborhood, close to good schools. I just stared at them, bewildered. They weren't even pretending it was about me anymore. So, Anna replied, smiling as if everything was settled, we can go see it tomorrow if you want. That's when I decided I'd had it. Actually, I responded, setting down my fork. I've already bought a house. The room went completely silent. Even the children stopped making noise. What? Mom asked, her voice harsh. I bought a house, I reiterated. It's a small, 2-bedroom cottage just outside the city. It's perfect for me. For a little moment, I considered whether they would be pleased for me. Mom's face turned red, and Anna's mouth virtually dropped to the floor. A cottage? Anna finally asked, her tone full of skepticism. How are we supposed to fit in a cottage? You're not, I informed you, because it's my house. I bought it for me. Mom stepped in before Anna could react. Kate, how could you make such a big decision without consulting us? We've been working so hard to find the perfect place for you. No, I replied, trying to maintain my cool. You've been working hard to find the perfect place for Anna and her family. I didn't need your help. I knew what I wanted, and I bought it. Anna's voice became quite high-pitched, as if she were about to cry. But we need this, Kate. Do you know how hard it is for us in that tiny apartment? The kids have to share a room, and Noah's crib is in our bedroom. It's not fair to them. I took a big breath, hoping not to lose it. That's not my problem, Anna. I've worked hard to get to this point, and I'm not giving up my dream house to fix your situation. That's when Dad decided to join in. He smashed his hand upon the table. You're being selfish, Kate. Family is supposed to help each other. What's wrong with you? I stood up, my heart racing. I'm not selfish. I'm finally standing up for myself. And if that makes me the bad guy in your eyes, so be it. The place erupted into turmoil. Anna was crying. Mom was ranting about how she had raised me better. Dad was complaining about how dissatisfied he was. Josh sat there, stuffing food into his mouth as if nothing was occurring. I grabbed my handbag and went to the door. Mom pursued me, crying, "You can't just walk away from your family like this." I turned back and screamed, "Watch me." I then got into my car and drove home, shivering with rage and relief. Things have gotten out of hand in unexpected ways. My mother and Anna have both gone on full social media attack mode. Anna shared images of her children packed close on their bunk bed with remarks like, "All they want is a little space to grow, but I guess some people think family isn't worth helping anymore." People who didn't know the complete situation left remarks such as, "How could anyone be so heartless?" To make matters worse, someone, probably Lisa, saw these posts, and now half of my office is talking about how I abandoned my family. I'm attempting to maintain a positive attitude and concentrate on my work, but it's becoming increasingly difficult. I'm bracing myself for whatever comes next, but I'm confident I made the correct decision. This house is mine, and I will not back down. I'll provide an update if something significant occurs. Thank you so much for all of your help. You have no idea how much it has meant. Update 2, I've been going over your comments, and wow, you guys didn't hold back. Many of you expressed surprise at how entitled my family sounds, and believe me, I share your sentiments. Others shared their experiences with similar situations, and it's reassuring to know I'm not alone in this. So, things have taken an unexpected turn. My mother unexpectedly visited my apartment yesterday. She was standing there with an apple pie, not my favorite, I prefer cherry, and the fakest smile I'd ever seen. "Hi, Kate. I thought I'd stop by and see how you're doing," she said, as if she hadn't been part of the social media mob attacking me in weeks. Against my better judgment, I allowed her in. She placed the pie on the counter and gazed around my home as if she were taking inventory. "I wanted to apologize," she began, her voice full of fake sweetness. "Things got a little heated, and I realize now that we were wrong to push you like that. You've worked hard for this house, and I should have respected your decisions. Something about her tone did not sit well with me. Then she launched into a lengthy speech about how pleased she was of me and how the stress of Anna's condition had caused everyone to behave out. But that's no excuse, she added, giving me a sad, almost imploring expression. I was thinking maybe we could have a fresh start. I'd love to come over again sometime. Maybe bring Anna and the kids. It'd be nice for everyone to see your new place. So there it was. The actual motive behind her visit. After she went, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Later that night, I recognized what was bothering me. She'd spent an unusual amount of time inspecting my locks and inquiring about my relocation timeline. My suspicions were verified when I returned home from work today and discovered my spare key missing, the one I had mistakenly left on the kitchen counter during my mother's stay. My phone vibrated just as I was processing this. My next-door neighbor sent me a text. "Hey, I noticed some folks trying to peep into your windows last night. It looked like a couple with children. Is everything okay?" I quickly phoned a locksmith to replace all of the locks. I'll also install security cameras first thing tomorrow morning. I can't believe they would go this low, but I'm also not surprised. I've stopped answering phone calls and texts from anyone in my family. Mom's apology was obviously simply a reconnaissance operation, and I'm done giving them the benefit of the doubt. The disturbing issue is that I don't think they'll stop. Dad left a voicemail stating, "This isn't over, Kate. Family has to stick together, whether you like it or not." At this point, it seems like a threat rather than a concern. I'm currently documenting everything, every text, voicemail, and suspicious incident. My gut tells me I'll need this record shortly. I will keep you updated if anything else happens. Reddit, thank you for all of your support. It's incredibly helpful to have folks confirm that I'm not insane for demanding fundamental boundaries. Update 3. Hello Reddit, I never imagined I'd be posting this update, but here we are. What happened today has left me absolutely disturbed, and I am still trying to digest everything. I went out this morning to conduct some basic tasks, such as food shopping and picking up a box from the post office. When I arrived home at noon, I saw something peculiar. Anna's SUV was parked directly in front of my house. My heart sunk immediately. I approached the door, fumbling with my keys, and heard voices within. Anna, Josh, and the kids were at my place. The atmosphere inside was complete mayhem. Sophia and Lucas were sprawled on my couch, surrounded by munchies and toys. Noah was toddling about my living room, munching on a throw cushion. Josh was in the kitchen, looting my refrigerator, and Anna was in the sunroom, rearranging my furniture as if she were on HGTV. What the hell's going on? I managed to reply, my voice shaking from fury and disbelief. Anna looked up, unaffected. "Oh hey, Kate, we figured it'd be easier to just move in while you were out." I glanced at her, trying to understand what she had just said. "Move in?" "Mom gave us the key," she explained, nodding to the kitchen counter. "We truly needed the space, and your home is ideal for us. It could have been bigger if you'd listened to us, but we'll make it happen. Josh can now have an office instead of bickering." Instead of arguing, I took out my phone and dialed 911. "Seriously?" Anna replied, her voice full of incredulity. "Are you calling the cops on your own family? Watch me." When the cops arrived, Anna and Josh attempted to argue that because we were family, this was not a true break-in. The officers wouldn't have it. They informed them that they were trespassing and needed to leave immediately. Anna began crying, saying she didn't realize it was such a huge deal, and Josh muttered something about my being selfish as they packed away their belongings, including the goodies they had plundered from my cupboard. After they went, one of the officers approached me and asked if I wanted to file charges. I considered it for a time before deciding against it, as long as they stayed away from my land. The officer nodded, saying they'd file a report if anything more happened. I've already phoned a locksmith to change the locks again, and I'll have a security system put in tomorrow. I've also hired a lawyer to create an official cease and desist letter to deliver to my parents, Anna and Josh. The letter describes everything they've done and expresses that if they continue to harass me, I will not hesitate to take legal action. I still can't believe my own sister felt this was appropriate and my mother gave them the key. I don't even have words for it. I will keep you updated if anything else happens, but perhaps this is the final straw. I am done giving them opportunities. Blood is not always thicker than water, particularly when it is dangerous. Update 4. I'd like to begin by thanking everyone who has followed this wild trip. After all of your comments and support, I believe I owe you a final report on the issue. Yes, I mean final, because I have formally severed all relations with my family. First came the guilt-inducing phone calls. Every single relative, including those I hadn't spoken to in years, began phoning me. My aunt, who hardly recognized my existence growing up, left a voicemail that read, "How can you do this to your sister? Family has to stick together." Then, my parents launched a smear campaign in our town. Mom shared photos of my house on Facebook. I'm not sure how she obtained them, with sentiments like, "It's so sad when someone forgets where they came from. Family sacrifices so much for you, and this is how they repay you." People who didn't know the complete scenario left comments accusing me of being ungrateful and selfish. Last week, Anna took it to a new level. She arrived at my business at lunch hour with all 3 children. I was in a meeting when our receptionist called to report that my sister was crying in the lobby and raising a disturbance. By the time I arrived, half of my coworkers had gathered to witness Anna theatrically tell how I was leaving her children homeless. I drew her aside and ordered her to leave. She responded by letting the kids run around the office while yelling about how I had plenty of space but was too selfish to share. Security had to take them out, and I had to have an embarrassing chat with my manager about keeping my personal concerns out of the office. The final straw arrived yesterday. My parents scheduled an intervention at their home. They informed my grandmother that I was suffering a mental breakdown and required family support. When I declined to attend, they attempted to have a local preacher visit my house to educate me on my family commitments. After consulting with my attorney, I took serious legal action. I applied for a restraining order against Anna and Josh, citing all of their harassment and the break-in. My lawyer also issued legal cease and desist letters to my parents regarding their social media posts and harassment. I've established a comprehensive security system that includes cameras and motion sensors, as well as changed my phone number and email address, which I exclusively share with trusted friends and my job. All of my social media accounts are now set to rigorous privacy settings, banning not only my family but also their friends and anyone who may feed them information. The most weird aspect of all of this is that they still appear to believe they are correct. My mother sent me one final email before I banned her, stating I was hurting her heart and that she had raised me better than this. She still doesn't get that this isn't about being mean or selfish. It is about setting basic boundaries and respecting oneself. But, you know what? For the first time in my life, I actually feel free. My house is just as I want it. I've started planting a garden in my backyard, which I'd always wanted to do but never had the space for. I'm making friends with my neighbors, those who don't report back to my family. I even adopted a cat, who is now snoozing in my sunny window. She is also not obligated to share her space with anyone she does not want to. Last weekend, I had a little housewarming celebration with some of my coworkers. We sipped wine and cheese on my lovely small porch, and no one said I needed more room or questioned my life choices. It was simply normal, joyful, and serene. I know some people may read this and think I'm callous for cutting off my family, but after 27 years of being treated as a backup plan, an ATM, and a solution to everyone else's issues, I'm finally putting myself first. Recognizing that family is more than simply blood, it's about respect, limits, and mutual support, can be the healthiest thing you can do. What about the house that sparked all of this drama? It's become my haven. Every morning, I wake up in my house, decorated exactly how I want it, with no one else's expectations to meet but my own, and I know I made the correct decision. Thank you to everyone on Reddit who has supported me on this trip. Your comments, guidance, and shared experiences helped me keep going when I was doubting myself. To those who shared similar stories, you helped me realize I wasn't alone in demanding fundamental boundaries. And to those who are now suffering with similar familial problems, remain strong. You deserve to live your life on your own terms. I probably won't be updating my tale anymore, partially because I've cut off all communication with my family and partly because I'm ready to go on with my life. But I'll still be on Reddit, possibly assisting others who are in similar positions. Thank you all again. Your encouragement meant more than you'll ever realize. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you. My rich mother-in-law, Karen, has treated me like a maid for many years. Now, I have stopped tolerating and prepared a perfect plan for revenge on her. Alex's words cut through the clatter of dishes like a keen scalpel. "Alara, bring me some tea now." I halted, my hands dipped in soapy water. "Hold on, I'm doing the dishes." "What?" His tone was incredulous and impatient. "Stop that, and bring me the tea right away. Can't you obey simple commands?" "But," I began, only to be interrupted. "What a useless wife you are." "Make me some sweet coffee," said another voice. Mrs. Whitmore, my mother-in-law, spoke from the living room. She sat there, munching a slice of cake she had grabbed from the fridge, her eyes gleaming with malice. I sighed and looked at the stack of dishes. "There are so many. Leave them for later. Just do what we say, useless wife," Alex's voice hissed, each syllable hurting. I was Alara, a 28-year-old working mother whose life felt more like a jail than a home. Married at 23, I had hoped for love and friendship, but instead found myself in the hands of Alex and his domineering mother. Our 4-year-old son was the only bright spot in an otherwise dark existence. We lived in Alex's parents' house, a decision foisted on me under the premise of caring for Mrs. Whitmore after my father-in-law died. Initially, I sympathized with her alleged anguish, but it quickly became evident that I was nothing more than a part in her cruel game of home oppression. Cooking, cleaning, and working just weren't enough. My attempts were treated with derision, and my meals were either left untouched or sharply ridiculed. The stir-fry is so half-hearted, Mrs. Whitmore would remark. Cook it properly from scratch. I'm busy and can only do simple things, I'd say, trying to maintain a calm voice. That's why I hate backtalk from my daughter-in-law, she quipped. Cook from scratch. Why don't you cook? You are a good cook, correct? I risked to react once and soon regretted it. Why would I do housekeeping with you here? She responded coldly and dismissively. Are you out of your mind? Their brutality grew with time, progressing from harsh words to a chilling quiet. They began to entirely disregard me, as if I were a ghost in my own home. My presence, which was previously underestimated, now appeared completely invisible. 5 years passed in this suffocating environment. Alex and I turned 35 and 33 respectively. Our son developed, but the unpleasant atmosphere in the house remained constant. My mother-in-law, now 63, appeared to thrive on my suffering. One evening, as I trudged home from work, a heavy revelation hit me. They saw my existence as meaningless. I was a shadow, unnoticed and unheard. The only voice that acknowledged me was my son's. The idea of losing even that minor recognition was agonizing. When I returned home, I started cooking right away, hoping to lift my spirits. I made mapo tofu, fried chicken, and a stir-fry with bell peppers and pork, attempting to bring some regularity to our dinner. Bring me the mayo, Alex said unexpectedly, breaking his long silence. Sure, here you are, I said, handing him the mayonnaise. His first words to me in ages were not thanks or discussion, but rather a command. It was the last straw, the limit of my patience and tolerance. Mrs. Whitmore demanded, clean the toilet? What? Now? I was shocked. Yes, now, she demanded, her voice full of hate. I snapped back, unable to suppress my annoyance. Don't say such a thing while we're eating. It's nasty, just like your heart, she said. Our dispute immediately escalated, with Alex interjecting and demanding that I apologize to his mother. But I refused, standing firm for the first time in years. The conflict reached its climax, and a conclusion formed within me. I needed to get out of this toxic environment, not just for myself, but also for my baby. I returned to my room, my determination stiffening. I downloaded divorce papers, completed them, and slapped them in front of Alex. His amazement was evident, but I felt just icy determination. I'm filing these, I announced, my voice firm. As I stood there, looking at my husband's puzzled expression, I realized I had finally stepped out of the shadows. It was time to regain my life. The days after I declared my divorce were a blur of frigid stares and stinging remarks, but in the midst of the chaos, I discovered an unexpected sense of freedom. Mrs. Whitmore looked at the food I was serving one evening with distaste. You call this food? Even a child cooks better. I bit my tongue, concentrating on my son's happy expression. Eat up, sweetheart. I made your favorite tonight, Alex added in, his voice full of sarcasm. Oh, playing the perfect mother now, are we? What a joke. I could feel my rage rising, but I held my cool. I'm just trying to make a nice dinner for our son. Mrs. Whitmore snorted. Don't act high and mighty. You're just a burden in this house. The tension around the table was apparent. Alex's attempts to insult me grew more intense. So, Alara, have you thought about how you'll survive after the divorce? You can barely keep a house, let alone your own life. I stared him directly in the eyes.
Sound like music that would be suitable for a band, so I should be able to play it. Do you have anyone in mind for the guitar and drum parts?
Huh? No, not yet. Do you have anyone you can recommend? I'm in a hurry, so I need to find them quickly.
I do have some people in mind. Have you seen A Performance with Soul? It's a video of a guitarist and a drummer. It's pretty famous among descendants at the moment. I understand. You're the kind of person who only focuses on your own music. Still, I think you should take a look. I've sent you the information via Steve, so you can check it out.
There are descendants who are such good musicians that people call what they do soul music? How fascinating. Who on earth could they be? Let me see their faces.